Van life in the winter can be epic, but it can also be miserable. Whether you are traveling full time in your van or you're just a weekend warrior, there is no reason that you cannot enjoy your van all year round, no matter the weather, no matter the climate, and no matter the location. We personally believe it's something that should be celebrated, getting out in all weathers, and as my wife Gabi always says, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes. So hopefully I'm gonna keep that ethos all the way through this video and the next one, and give you guys some tips on how to live in your van and travel in the winter. This little mini series will comprise of 2 episodes, one being how to perfectly maintain your vehicle for wintertime travel, and the second one will be about how you can embrace as many creature comforts in your van and have as much of a comfortable experience in your van as possible, no matter the temperature outside or inside your van. Oh yes, welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new here, thanks a lot for joining. My wife and I, we've been having camper vans for the last 7 years or so. And our first van was a Ford Transit that we traveled around Europe in. We got all the way to Sweden. We loved it so much that we stayed there for a year, all throughout the winter. So yeah, I believe that we have a few tips that we might be able to share with you guys, so you can enjoy van life no matter the weather. Quite simply, the most important thing for us when traveling in any weather is our safety. Especially me, I'm the primary driver, I maintain the vehicles, usually I buy them as well, so I want to make sure, and I feel a responsibility to make sure that we're safe when we're on the road. Whether it's myself driving or Gabi driving, I always want to make sure that the van is in tip-top condition for those conditions. Now, driving in the winter, since this video is all about the winter, is probably the only season when you might think that you may need different tyres. And for me, different tyres in the winter are an absolute necessity. Whether we're going to Wales, up to Scotland, or even all the way across Europe to Lithuania, for sure we will need some type of winter tyres. In a nutshell, there are 3 types of winter tyres. There are studded winter tyres for really extreme weather and extreme climates. There are non-studded but still dedicated winter tyres. And there are all-season or cross-climate tyres. And within those 3 categories, there are also 2 more categories of classification of how much of a winter tyre that tyre may be. There is M+S, M and S, which stands for mud and snow. And then there is also a 3-peak snowflake symbol that can be found on the sidewall of a tyre. Now, before we go any further, if you're looking and watching this video because you're thinking about going away in your van at winter time and you know where you're going has severe weather, either you're going up to the Alps or you're going to Eastern Europe or maybe even Germany or Poland, then I would always suggest that you have the 3-peak snowflake symbol tyres. When we lived in Sweden, I wanted to make sure that we had the best tyres possible. I did a lot of research and found some studded Nokian, which is the brand, winter tyres that were second-hand. And still, I paid 600 euros for them. But I wanted to have peace of mind that in our van, we wouldn't have any issues of, sliding or slipping, and that everybody on the road, ourselves included, were safe when we were driving. Now, these tyres were studded, and they're very rare in Europe now, because a lot of countries now have actually made them illegal to use. Non-studded winter dedicated tyres are now so efficient that they almost rival studded tyres, but of course in conditions where you have sheet ice or black ice, then nothing is going to stop you, unfortunately. But non-studded winter tyres do tend to be the main thing to have all over Europe during the winter. However, the tyres that I've gone for on our van this year are Michelin cross climate tyres. They are 3-peak snowflake rated tyres, but they are all season tyres, so they're not dedicated to winter. However, after doing lots of research, I've found that this tyre is exceeding even some dedicated winter tyres that are out there. So since we're only going to be in Lithuania for a month this year, or at least this winter, and the rest of the time driving is going to be in the UK when we really don't have severe winter, particularly here in Brighton, then these cross-climate tyres are going to do us just fine. It's also worth bearing in mind that tyres are quite an investment. They're really expensive, especially good quality tyres. And these Michelin tyres that I've gone for are £250 each if you buy them brand new. But I managed to find a set of 4 on eBay, part worn, but in very good condition, with 80% tread for £260 posted. So I think that was a great deal. I'm really happy with them. They're on the van now and they drive fantastically. So that's something I would recommend, is have a look at part worns if you don't want to drop, in excess of £1,000 on winter tyres, especially if you're not going to be using them to their maximum potential. While I'm on the topic of winter tyres, I just want to mention snow socks and snow chains. I've never used either of them. I believe that in some countries, and particularly in the Alps and what have you, it's compulsory to have snow chains in your vehicle, even if you don't use them. If you're going to use snow chains, make sure you've practiced fitting them in, dry conditions before you get into that situation where you absolutely need to fit them if you need to fit them. But I don't have any experience with them at all. I'm sure other people on YouTube do, but by all means, if you need them wherever you're going, then do your research accordingly. The next thing on my list are the headlights that you're going to be using in your vehicle. Now, of course, in the winter it's cold and wet and icy and what have you, but it's also very, very dark and the days are much shorter. And with us driving from here to Lithuania, the journey is about 24 hours and we try and get it done as quickly as possible. I have just invested in a new pair of headlight bulbs, and believe it or not, these bulbs claim to be 200% more brighter than the existing stock bulbs that come with a Mercedes Sprinter like our van. The lights that are in there at the moment are fine, they're okay for, nipping around here and there. But I wanted to invest in some better headlights that make it easier for me to drive at night, make it easier for me to see where I'm going, and make it easier for other people, particularly trucks and what have you, to see me. These are the light bulbs I've gone for. They're the Philips Racing Vision GT200 H7, and they, as I said, they claim to be up to 200% more bright. So I'm really looking forward to getting these bulbs. I used to have some Osram night breakers in an old Subaru that I used to have, and they were fantastic, but believe it or not, these bulbs actually outperform in all of the reviews the Osram night breakers. So maybe I'll do a little tester now and let you know how I get on. Well, I hope it came across in the camera, but as you can tell, the Philips bulbs were much better than the stock bulbs, so yeah, I highly recommend these. In our second van, which was actually our first Sprinter, I did have a very long light bar, LED light bar on the front of the van for our first winter trip to Lithuania. And actually, I don't recommend getting one of those. Uprate your light bulbs, because in my opinion, those LED light bars are more dangerous than safe. And just on the topic of light bulbs, make sure you check your fog light bulb. We don't use the fog light very often, so make sure it's definitely working, because it'll be sod's law, you'll be in a snowstorm or in thick fog, and you'll need to turn it on and it won't work. So just double check that before you venture out. My next tip isn't so much to do with safety in the vehicle, it's more to do with the maintenance of the vehicle itself. And I would absolutely recommend that you make sure that you have suitable antifreeze in your coolant in your engine. If you don't have antifreeze that's rated for the temperatures that you're going to be driving in, then potentially you could end up in a catastrophic situation where your engine is ruined. There are little devices that you can get to test the concentration of the antifreeze in your coolant. I've never had much luck with these personally, and for the sake of a £20 bottle of antifreeze, I'd much rather get rid of the old antifreeze, flush it through, and put a whole new bottle of new antifreeze in, and then you know that you're definitely going to be covered for whatever temperature you need to drive in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the top off the expansion tank, and I'm going to open one of the coolant hoses underneath, let everything drain out. If I don't undo the top one, then there might be a bit of a vacuum in the coolant system, and then it might not all drain out properly. Once I've done that, I'm going to run the engine for a little bit, get the water pump to pump some of the coolant around, hopefully out, and then I can flush the system through and put the new coolant in. Okay, so this coolant is good 1-to-1 ratio down to -37 degrees, which is going to be more than enough for us in Lithuania. And I know that I need to put 3.5 litres of this in, plus 3.5 litres of water, because I've measured how much I've taken out of the system. Along the same lines as the antifreeze and the coolant system in your van, you want to make sure that the fluid, the windscreen washer fluid, is also capable of going down to those temperatures that you might be driving in. I had it a couple of years ago when we were driving across to Lithuania for Christmas, and I had forgotten to change the windscreen washer fluid for the correct rating of the temperature that I was going into. And it just so happened that we were driving across Poland. I used my windscreen washers because obviously there's dirt and salt on the roads and everything, and the washer fluid froze on the windscreen. It was very dangerous, and so just bear that in mind in future. Make sure that your windscreen washer fluid is flushed all the way out, replaced with the correct rating of washer fluid. One last thing on the practical side of things is to carry a tow strap with you. You never know when you're going to get stuck or when someone else is going to get stuck and you might need to help them. So make sure that you're carrying a tow strap or a tow rope that definitely exceeds the weight of your vehicle, just in case you ever get stuck. And on that topic, make sure that whenever you use a towing eye that screws into your front bumper, make sure whenever you're pulling on a towing eye or being pulled, it's in a straight direction. If you attach to a towing eye and pull off at an angle, those towing eyes are not meant for that at all, and they might break, and then you'll be really stuck because you'll have half a towing eye stuck in your bumper and you won't be able to get out of your sticky situation. Lastly, I would say make sure you have suitable breakdown cover. The last thing you want to be is stuck somewhere without any breakdown cover, and then you can't get home or get your vehicle fixed. And with that, make sure that you've got enough blankets and food and water in your van or in your vehicle at all times. The chances are if you're in a camper van, you're going to have your bedding anyway. But if you're just using the van for, day trips and what have you, and you don't have bedding, chuck a blanket in the car, in the van. I think I've covered most things that might be relevant, guys, if you're traveling somewhere cold this winter. Do let us know in the comments if I've missed something. I'm always up for learning and improving our safety and our enjoyment when we're traveling, but hopefully I've covered a few bases that might give you a bit of food for thought and keep you safe when you're traveling in your van this winter. Don't forget to check out our other video, which is all about creature comforts and what have you, tips and tricks for staying cozy in the back of your van, even in the dead of winter. We've been camping in Norway in the middle of winter before without a heater at -16. We're still here to tell the tale. So make sure you tune in with that video and check out all of our creature comforts that we have in our van, including one that you really might not suspect. So we're excited to share that with you. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Over and out.